Hey, Justin, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, Mike?
Not much, not much. This is the State of the Giants, and this is our coverage of The Boys season three. This
Episode five.
uh, what's that?
Episode five.
Yep, you're right. Episode five. This is a. They keep getting bigger.
Yeah.
And this one we actually watched together. IRL, as the kids would say. But aside from that, this was huge. And what were your thoughts on this one and how big it was?
Oh wow, this was a big one. They went all out. Like this season, the stakes have been escalated. Everything is bigger. Um, Everything is more serious. Everything has bigger consequences. Uh, the show is like continuing on with its social satire, but it's getting a lot more on the nose with its social satire. And
It is.
yeah, it's getting it's mask off. It's being very very clear about what it wants to say, and it doesn't care whether you like it or if it offends. It said it, and you just got to deal. I guess that's really my takeaway from this episode.
I full and agree with that. Yeah, it even made headlines in the real world for this and that. We won't cover that, but
Yeah,
it
it
just
was building, but this episode in particular, I think this is really the one. Actually, I'll um the boys subreddit, I noticed a lot more activity on the subreddit this last week. So there are more, I don't know if there are more people watching the series, but there are definitely more people paying attention.
it does seem to be rising in popularity. It's just funny how art imitates life. I don't think that's a big surprise to anybody. That's been going on forever, and it's just interesting. Some of the things that are said about the show. Just the chit chat. I'm gonna have to check out the subreddit or that subreddit a little bit more. Is a pretty quality place to follow and tag along in generally.
It is, but there's also lots of shit posting, but it's the type of shit posting that doesn't detract from the community. It's the
Sure,
type of shit posting that is very much in the spirit of what the show is about. Because in a
that's
way,
all.
the show is just kind of, the show has aspects of it that's just kind of a giant shit post.
The show is a giant shit post a lot. For sure, they do it all the time. Yeah, that so it's a fun circular fan kind of enjoyment thing going on. Yeah, and I wrote down this which I'm gonna liberally steal from where I heard it from just a little bit ago. But we have the Temp V twins. That's the perfect way to describe Huey and his new BFF ever. Uh, Butcher. So they're definitely there, and there's some very interesting talks between Starlight and Huey or whatever. But yeah, this whole episode was just huge. I
Back
was
to
gonna
that
go.
last image, that image of Huey and Butcher.
Yeah,
If you notice, they're starting to look alike. Huey is growing a beard. His hair is a little bit more disheveled. He's starting to look, as he's starting to act more like Butcher, because Butcher's whole idea is that his whole kind of modus operandi is that the ends justify the means,
right.
and that the use of compound V is a force multiplier. It doesn't matter that he's becoming this thing that he hates. Trying to play by the rules doesn't work. And Huey's always been the person who wanted to play by the rules. He's always played it safe. He joined the
The
Bureau
right
of
way.
Human Affairs because he thought that he could change things within the system. But I think now he's become more like Butcher, and where he doesn't believe that, where he has become interested in this force multiplier that is compound V. And if you look, his physical appearance is starting to mimic that of Butcher's.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's color up. Like very obvious, like big brother, little brother
Yeah.
dynamic going on there for a little bit. I agree with that for sure. Yeah, these guys like he just this is where well by Butcher by this time it's the Butcher's at least third go round with Tim V. And we know just by virtue of how the show works there's got to be a massive trade-off at some point. Like there's a cost to be paid. We just don't quite know what it is, I'm sure. But putting that aside, that's just my own speculation. But Huey's, this is his second time, and this is the total time like where it's sticking for better or for worse. Like there's no way that Huey is going to back away from this, especially with his kind of conversations with Starlight, and how he feels like he's always just been this underdog, not even an underdog. An underdog would imply that you have a shot.
Right.
And regular old Huey doesn't even have a shot. He is essentially just hamburger meat ready to be grinded, to put it frankly. Especially with all the meat grinders around him. Like every single super that you see is a meat grinder. It's Homelander's the king meat grinder, and then you have Soldier Boy, who has made his way in finally, I guess, to America is what the thing is, and he is just shocked from what he sees. Go ahead.
You know what's interesting about Huey, though? We call him this sort of kind of bland milk toast person, but if you remember back to the beginning, to the first season, he was the first of the boys to kill a superhero. He killed Translucent.
That's true. Yeah, you know what?
He's always had it in him. Like if you look over the seasons, you've seen this kind of arc where he has moved from being this sort of nebbish, wimpy guy who to the point where like he's willing to do these things in great like these kind of in exceeding circumstances, but he's becoming more and more willing to do these sort of to cross that event horizon more often with less provocation.
That is true. That was most of the way through season 1, wasn't it?
Right,
when it happened. Like he had blood on his hands right away, and like he was in shock. So that's a good point. I completely forgot that he drew first blood too, for the boys. Well, we know Butcher has killed many times, and all of them. The Frenchman and MM, and also the female.
Have any of them killed any superheroes though?
Yes. Yeah, because they have done that a couple times. They did the invisible guy, that one. Yeah. He was one.
Huey killed Translucent.
Right. And then you had the other ones. I'd have to like look it up, to be honest with you. I wouldn't be able to pull it up from maybe it'll jog the memory, but yeah, I believe they have, because they mentioned like how it was months to get a hold of one, and now they were just knocking them down like left and right. And the thing is that that implies that the boys were known to kill and not be able to bring them in, I guess, alive, because that was set out at the beginning of this season, if you recall.
Right.
So I would have to infer from that. Yeah, absolutely, they've killed. And that's kind of the default. Even it's basically like they have the reputation like where they're like bad company. It's gonna go sideways.
That up again, because the only two soups we've seen killed on screen by the boys are Gunpowder and
there's Lamplighter. Did
they kill Lamplighter?
Yeah, Lamplighter killed himself. He suicided. I think. I believe, and he tried to take Black Noir, or no, that was Queen Maeve that shoved the
Almond Joy.
The Almond Joy into his face, and then it was assumed kind of heavily that it wasn't. It looked like he died. But then I thought Stormfront was dead too, but she eventually died later on. But yeah, so I would say that's a result of the boys' action on it. Yeah, for sure. But yeah,
fun fact: Black Noir. The idea that he has a peanut allergy or a nut allergy, that's actually a reference to the actor who plays Black Noir, who actually does have a nut allergy.
Really? That's interesting. Yes. That's crazy. That's really cool. You need to bring that up in another window.
Last time to look on this world of lies.
Yeah, that's what it was called. Like
very different ratings on IMDb compared to the Prime website.
Interesting. What's the prime? Well, I guess I should say.
It's at 3.5 right now, and we don't have to get into all of the reasons why the
Oh,
series is
that's
getting
right.
very
Yeah, yeah,
low
yeah.
ratings on Amazon, but it's just different.
Right.
It's interesting to see the response that people are having to the series on Prime as opposed to on IMDb.
I think, yeah. Oh, yeah, it looks like it's 3.5. Yeah, well, that's just because of the internet and people
Right.
give it about 2 weeks and it'll be a completely different thing or whatever.
Yep.
Good people are going to do what they do. So good for them. Good for you. You got it knocked down half a point or whatever. And congratulations. You know, that won't change at all. Dumb. Yeah. So kind of refocusing back. Yeah, I was going to say this is so our heroes make it back to America from Russia, and so does their newest weapon. That turns out that is in fact a weapon against soups in a way. But there was a specific reason why Russia, I guess, was keeping him on ice because they couldn't control him. They could contain him for a little bit until obviously it was sprung. But this is kind of the setup of like where this fits in with the whole grand scheme. And he's seeing, from his perspective, he's been out of pocket for 40 years,
40 years,
easy, if not longer or whatever. I don't know, a really long time for him to completely, it's kind of like Encino Man. He awakens and from like Ooga Booga times to like Polly Shore yelling in his face about grindage.
80s weren't Ooga Booga times. He went in the 80s. It's not like Captain
That's
America
true.
coming
That's
out having been in ice since like the 50s. But
That's
yeah,
true.
definitely
That's
things have
point.
changed a bit, and he definitely notices it.
Yeah,
He doesn't
for
seem
sure.
particularly upset. He just definitely, though, he notices that times have changed.
Yeah, and I would expect that honestly, because like he essentially, from his point of view, he's immortal anyway. So it's not like he hasn't seen people that he's loved die from his original time, whenever he was originally, however old he is. He's probably already come to accept that. So it's probably not that big of a shift in his worldview anyway, which that's what I would argue. But it's not even a thing to argue. It's just observation. But yeah, so we have that guy, and then he, for some reason, he has it out for Crimson. What's her name? Crimson whatever.
Countess.
Yeah, Crimson Count. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and unlike him, she ages.
Right.
So she has powers, but not really. Not like I guess there's a whole spectrum anyway. So it's not like one is it is the case. One is better than the other as far as like your abilities, which who knows how those are determined. She kind of seems like it's random, maybe. I don't know.
I think in the comics, Soldier Boy was one of the first recipients of like the original Compound V that Frederick Vought created.
Right.
So like he's an old school soup. So he's like, if there were like rankings, he's like an S-class soup, and so is Homelander. And then you have people who are lower than that, and then you probably have some people who are even lower than that, because if Diabolical is to believe, there are people out there who, when they were injected with V as children, they got absolutely useless powers. So
right. Yeah, and we kind of saw some of the amalgamation of like freaks, I guess, for lack of a better term. We had baby laser eyes. We had there was one really powerful one. I can't remember wasn't it I can't remember, but in any case, it's along the lines of Victoria's powers, like the head popping or whatever that they could do, and they were able to escape. But in any case, Crimson Countess is now on the altar, and the boys got there first. And now one thing, like when this happens, this is of course the main plot, I would say, and then there's a subplot with Frenchie on that. But and we can get to that in a minute. But the one thing that I wanted to kind of call out was that it's not so much that Soldier Boy and the boys at the end of this whole spectacle here are teaming up. No. That's not how I took that scene or those scenes or that interaction. I saw it as pretty much like it's convenient for Soldier Boy to go in this direction because it's what he wants.
Right.
Whereas the boys are just following along, and maybe they think they have a leash on them, but they don't have anything on them. So sure, it may work out for now, but that they are not teaming up like that unless there's some kind of other indication that you saw in this episode. It didn't feel like that at all to me. It just kind of felt like, oh, well, you conveniently hogtied somebody that I have a homicidal intent for, rage, to kind of offer up a little bit, which he would have taken anyway, whether the boys were there
Right.
or
She was
not,
like a peace offering. Like this is two birds with one stone for the boys.
Right.
They know that Soldier Boy is coming to get his revenge on Crimson Countess. So they figure, hey, if we make it easy for this guy, one, that's one less soup that we have to worry about, and two, maybe we can get something out of him.
Yeah, and it is a far cry to even know if the Temp B twins are even S tier level power or not. That has not been established at all, nor would I put any trust into it. I mean, so we don't know. That's untested.
But I think we might have talked about this last week. It's interesting how their powers manifested, because if you look, Butcher seems to have powers that are very similar to Homelander, who is the person he hates the most. And then Huey, he's not super able to go super fast, but he can teleport, which is very similar, which is a power that would be similar to one of the person who he also hates the most, A-Train.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he has that and the teleportation thing. That's in a way an offshoot of like a Nightcrawler type.
Right. Yeah.
Power, I guess. I don't know. Whereas I still think like, I guess they're still trying to shield or keep folks away. In this particular scene, we kind of see like that there's a big split between how they want to do this. So they're far from unified. And that's because of Homelander and the amount of pressure that he's putting on Starlight as a thing. Essentially, he's like 3 steps away from like sticking his tongue down her throat every time they're in public. If he's not already there. And like there's that malevolent rapey kind of feel to Homelander when it comes to, we're slowly entering that intersection, so to speak, for sure. And we're starting to feel that more from this character of like, she is, that I think that also probably describes Queen Maeve. And was it the Queen Maeve was like missing after she encountered Butcher? What was that? Wasn't the end result of Queen Maeve being kind of disappeared? I guess I don't know.
They said they were sending her to a rehab facility, but this coming week's episode is Herogasm, and that's supposed to be taking in place at some sort of retreat. So we don't know if she's there or she's been sent somewhere else. So like that adds an extra dimension of what's happened to Queen Maeve. But you are correct. We already know what Homelander is capable of doing. We've already seen what he's done to other women, and now you have these two characters, Queen Maeve and Starlight, who he's kind of got in his sights.
Right.
And then
I definitely feel like we are headed toward David Lynch type levels of the human psyche sphere of effed upness. I think we're just on the brim of that now.
Right.
And that's kind of the feeling that I've been catching a lot, especially with Homelander and how his control of the whole dynamics go as far as the power structure. Like he's just like he is. I feel like we're right. We're getting ready. I think we're going to get popped in the face with some very hard surprises that are going to be. It's going to separate the men from the boys. If you're a fan, if you want to stick around or not, I think from like just the buildup of what we've had thus far, if that makes any kind of sense whatsoever.
After 3.5 seasons of this, I can't see myself walking away. But
no.
I feel like if you were gonna walk away, you probably like we'd have done it during one of the first two seasons, but definitely you would have done it after the first episode of this season with
Oh yeah.
the sneeze. If that didn't turn you off, I don't know what's gonna be able to do it.
Yeah, I don't know, but I know that there is some shock and awe left in how they do things. And I mean, I will still. I mean, it'd have to be exceptionally in bad taste or not land for me to walk away. And even then, I still would probably stick around anyway to see it through, regardless, because it's not like it's real life. It's all fiction anyway. So, I mean, this is fiction,
It is.
and it's good fiction, very entertaining. They were. I don't think that I could predict where or what would happen next. Just seeing what I've saw, especially with the way that's true. Like the first 15 minutes of this season, you were either in or out.
It reminded you. It definitely reminded you. It's like, by the way, you're watching The Boys.
Right. That's why I just don't believe some of the hype around some of like how hurt feelings are around this thing. I think it's just made up. More
It's
more
made up. It's
fictional than
it's
anything else.
artificial outrage.
Like you,
And then next week people will be pretending to be
yeah,
upset about something else.
right. You can't tell me that people are upset because they make a contrast with this or that. What, like I said, art imitates reality.
Yeah.
And then still have not been triggered on the first literally 5 minutes of the season. Like there's no way. There's just no way. That just come on, that's just ridiculous. But anyway,
That's grass.
yeah. But for the most part, I don't want to belabor that point. But yeah, we are seeing changes quite a bit, and people picking sides and doubling down and sticking with their side for sure. That's true with just this. I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of like a funny way to describe this. The new CEO of Vought, sock puppet of Homelander, essentially, like she finds out which side she's on, because I guess
Pseudo empowerment.
right, yeah, she's realizing that if I mimic, and this is a commentary in real life too, it's kind of funny. She's realizing that when she mimics the Homelander, the end all be all, essentially God for these people anyway, then she gets what she wants, and she's getting to that too. So it's kind of funny. While you have Huey and you have the Billy Butcher getting addicted to Temp V, with whether they like it or not, and I don't care how melancholy Butcher gets. He was already kind of ate out from the inside out anyway, essentially like a couple times already. So I'm not quite sure there's like too much, whatever left in the tank. But anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this, but kind of moving on though. Queen Maeve disappears. Homelander basically asserts his authority, for all time, at least until this point. And then Soldier Boy is our main pivot point, I guess. And then we didn't really touch on Kamiko and or the
Frenchie,
female and Frenchie. But what were your thoughts on their kind of like I kind of read their interactions as more like brother sister kind of, or something familial around that, but that was kind of tossed out the window this trip around.
I don't know exactly what they're trying to do here. You've already got the romantic element in the show with Huey and Starlight. This kind of romance, it feels a little bit forced. It was nicer, I think, when it was just kind of more of like a two people who were close to one another.
I agree with that. Like it didn't feel. I mean, you could kind of see it a little bit, I guess, but I
knew it was headed in that direction, but I didn't like it.
Yeah, it just felt more. It felt like Leia kissing Luke.
Right? Which is really, that thing you look back in retrospect and you're like,
right. Nobody talks about it. Right. Nobody talks about it because it was washed away with Han Solo. But anyway, not to get too much in the weeds, but pop culture wise. But it really did feel like it was like Luke and Leia, not
right.
Leia and Han Solo for sure. But yeah, whatever. Maybe it'll go somewhere. Maybe not. Well, of course.
Let's see
You
how
know,
it plays out.
right? Yeah, for sure.
I'll
Yeah, I
be
think.
honest and tell you that the relationship between Frenchie and Kimiko is not my favorite aspect of the show. It's not that I hate it, but it's kind of down there when you look at the plot that you have, various kind of plots and relationships that you have going on in the show. But
Yeah,
I think other people enjoy it.
if this show ever had filler, I think this would be a damn good candidate for that category. Just in my opinion, in how I see it as well. But
I
yeah,
agree. Yeah.
we'll see where it goes. But that's okay. It's okay. There's still plenty of room left. For what's coming, I'm sure that there is like this is kind of gonna not. We're probably not going to see this again for a while. I would imagine we're probably not going to see it until the end of the season, if at all,
Right.
because there's so much stuff going on. I don't know how they're going to accomplish all that other stuff, and then focus on like some kind of throwaway or not throwaway but filler kind of thing. Anyway, and they kind of did this uh, kind of I don't know, fantasy
Dream
kind of
musical montage.
like how somebody I took it as like either one of these guys were fantasizing about this and this is how they felt.
I I
Kids.
also feel like Karen Fukuhara at some point was like, "Hey, could you guys let me have like one part of the show where I actually get to talk?"
I don't blame her for that. I don't blame
Yeah,
her for that. Yeah, as long as it fits in and it doesn't get in the way, yeah, why not? But they're the geniuses that came up with the show, so I trust them to do whatever. So, no complaints there aside from like just kind of like a like oh they're together now. Oh, okay,
I
sure,
feel like
whatever.
this little montage did not fit within the spirit of the show, but maybe
I don't either.
um maybe
Felt
we will we'll come to a point later on, a few episodes down, where we're like, okay, that did make sense. I'm not gonna question the writers of the show because I don't feel like they've made any real mistakes
this
thus
isn't even
far.
yeah, this isn't even. I'm not even saying that it's worthy or level of criticism or like a mistake. Definitely some observation. I don't think we're being too harsh, but yeah, it's kind of like, what are we doing here? But aside from that, like carry on.
Yeah, yeah. It didn't
It's
go too
acceptable.
long. Like some shows get it. Like, have you noticed? Like some shows, they'll do like an entire musical episode, and I'm not a huge fan of musicals. So
Yeah,
the fact that they didn't go too long with it's like, okay, they recognize that this is kind of a bit that you can go too far with.
right. Yeah, I'll watch. I literally will watch once in a blue moon, if at all. A musical with my grandma. But that's from their era, not mine, for sure. But in any case, yeah, we're kind of rotating out toward the end here, or getting close to it. But
So yeah, yeah,
I'm really looking forward to seeing when Homelander and when Soldier Boy meet for the first time, or
mhm.
or maybe not meet for the first time, but they have their very first um, adversarial meeting. I guess I don't know that we see anyway as the audience. I'm really interested in that, and I'm really interested in from Kamiko what we were just talking about to kind of bridge it into the what we're talking about. She does seem to have lost her powers, and she's happy about that. But I don't think that she's going to be so happy about that when she figures out that
Right.
her boyfriend or Frenchie was taken and abducted, and like she could really do something with that. So it's kind of like Huey in reverse, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of funny. It's like trading places with Huey with where that dynamic is, because like she can't just run in and just get shot in the head, apparently anyway, but we'll see. And I'm also curious to see what the exact power level of the Temp B twins are.
Right.
Like, well, yeah, it's kind of been hinted that like, he seems to have, and we don't know. And I also would say, just because we haven't seen it, we can't rule out that like Billy Butcher can fly. I'm
Right.
not going to be surprised if he can fly, but they never showed it. Okay, just because that happened doesn't mean it doesn't exist, so to speak. And like, it's kind of a natural, um, elementary deductive logic type thing, anyway. But in any case, I also want to know what's going on with Queen Maeve. Like, if she's still alive, what's going on with that? What's going to happen with Starlight? How does she react to whatever? You know, if she makes it, because apparently she's on the warpath. She's tired of the dynamic, and I don't blame her. I don't blame her.
One other thing, and we don't talk about him much, but Mother's Milk. So he's
That's
a
true,
character
yeah.
where he has been sort of the moral center of the group.
Jiminy
He's the
Cricket.
one who's kept them from doing a lot of really dumb things. And when
Right.
when the rest of the group decided, or particular Butcher decided to do it anyway, he was the
Right.
one who walked away. But even he is starting to lose it, because his thing with Soldier Boy now, it's personal, because
Right.
Soldier Boy's involved. Also, his relationship with Homelander has become more contentious, as it's been revealed that I guess his wife's new boyfriend is like a Soldier Boy fan, or not a Homelander fanboy, and he doesn't like that. So, and I mean, I guess probably that, not an experience I've had, but I'm guessing a lot of people could probably relate to the idea of like having like your children being around someone who, through a former partner who you're not a fan of that person.
From my observation and my opinion on Mother's Milk, the more that the season goes on, the more I love him and his character, because he truly is the humanity of the entire thing.
Right.
The fact that he knew what was going on and like his PTSD or whatever, and the fact that he had his daughter right there, he walked away. That no other character in any of this up till recently has been able to demonstrate that superhuman ability to put others before them, truly, selflessly. Anyway, but that's kind of my inflated. But I'm a parent, so
he has the highest emotional intelligence of anyone in the show.
I agree with that. Yeah, I hope he is kind of fast becoming my favorite character of all of them, because of just like they did a good job on his character. But the more I see, the more I can sympathize with, and I can see the whole layout there. And essentially, he was knocked out, roofied by Butcher. And I think Butcher he said kind of a throwaway line where he said, like, he was like, it was night for for MM. He said something like, I can't remember what he said, but he said something poignant, pretty important. I just can't recall. But
MM didn't want to be a part of the use of Compound V, and so it when he knocks MM out, it's selfish, but it's also selfless. He does care what happens to him, so he kind of puts him in a situation where he can be put out of harm's way, because without the game has changed. If you're not on V, or you're not a soup, your ability to do something right now, you have no power. You have no ability to do anything. Homelander is out of control. You're a liability.
Yeah, you are 100% a liability, and actually that's the second time that he has demonstrated superhuman level restraint as far as like what's put in front of him. You know, he was tempted and he kept his humanity. Of all the characters, aside from Frenchie and Kimiko, where they all desperately want their humanity back, I guess, or to be able to experience and not see all this death and gore or for what they are. They pine away for, I don't know, simpler times, or easier. Yeah. Just being human. I don't know. Anyway, hats off to Mother's Milk, because like that Alonso, what is his name?
Laz Alonso. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Laz Alonso. He's a great friggin' actor. And I would argue they all are. They all really.
This is a very, very good cast. I don't feel like there's really any weaknesses as far as like acting ability or what they do. Paul Reiser, that cameo, that was a trip. That was great.
Too. I gotta say, like, I did not realize the Paul Reiser looked that old. but damn, he does look that old.
I think they might have graded him up a little bit. They might have like put the glasses he's wearing, like kind of the Hugh Hefner smoking jacket. It did give him a little bit of an older look, but yeah, he didn't get put in suspended animation in like the 80s, you know.
Right.
Then
Yeah, we covered a lot of these guys. Karl.
yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
Go ahead.
I think the only other it's not a major, but the only other kind of like minor subplot that we didn't get into was A-Train's kind of saga. A-Train is like worked himself into a situation trying to kind of stay relevant. He's kind of put himself in a situation that he is completely and totally lost control of.
Oh yeah, no, that was sheer disaster. It seems that he has the Midas touch, only instead of gold, it's shit.
Yeah. Super uncomfortable scene.
Oh God, it's horrible. It was just like, what the hell?
and you knew it was coming.
Yeah, that's the
you
thing.
You could see it coming a mile away, and it was still super uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I think that also that whole setup just kind of shows that like where unless Homelander is personally there, people don't give a shit. They don't care. They don't give a shit. They don't care, and they're just going to act as they wish, essentially. But if Homelander I think it shows the limits of Homelander's power or the reach of the terror that he is. He's a 100% tyrant for sure in multiple ways. But man, the world is about to come unglued. I don't think it's going to take too long before Edgar or whatever, or he was in last. We'll see what happens to him if he hasn't already been outright murdered. The original CEO of what,
right.
Anyway, or chairman, whatever his name was, Edgar is the character's name, I believe. But we'll see just how much of a mess he makes, because the only thing we didn't cover was that Homelander straight up murdered Supersonic.
Yes.
But that was all in play for that kind of rapey, kind of creepy vibe undertone that Homelander kind of just oozes, and not just the sexual kind, but just kind of like just a pervasive, there's nothing you can do. Like there's literally nothing that you can do. If you're from the perspective of like everybody else around Homelander, like it's just a web of terror, an absolute web of terror. So it'll be interesting anyway. Yeah. But I think that brings us up to the end, to the caboose for the show. And we definitely enjoyed this, and we're going to be back next week. And just to kind of plug our own what we're doing here. We do plan on branching out here once the show is concluded. We may or may not pick up Diabolical or not. Probably if we do anything with it, it might be an episode or two, maybe. But we're looking at expanding our content here as because we don't want to just be pegged to the boys,
right?
For sure. But with that being said, please let us know, like, comment, subscribe. We had a late run on our first show. Big jump in view for us. Of course, two views is a big jump, but that's okay. And with that being said, I've been Mike.
Justin.
And we'll see you next week.
Peace.